Hello, so this is another new video, and again, this is about basic cloud. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about cloud computing services. Okay, so again, we are having three main services about cloud, and we are going to talk about these three services. Okay, keep this in mind that you will get some of the questions about cloud computing services in the interview. Yeah, you will not get any questions in exam. Maybe like I cannot say it like, yeah, fixed. It is not fixed like which type of question they are asking, but yes, in the interview for sure you will get questions about cloud computing services. Okay, so let me share my screen, and here is three services of cloud. Okay, uh first service we called it infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Another is a platform as a service, PaaS. And the third one is a software as a service. Okay, now there are many, like for example you have an example of storage as a service. Yeah, so all these services are actually part of this main three services. Okay, for example, storage as a service is a part of infrastructure as a service. Okay, so we are going to talk about general main three services. Okay, other services may be a part of these three. Okay, now let me start with the infrastructure as a service. Okay, so before I will talk about this, let me ask you some questions. Okay, and if you have note and pen, you can pause your video and you can answer these questions, right? So for example, if I'm going to give you that, for example, uh, I'm one company. Okay, and in this company, i I want to make it like a digital, or I want to use computers. Okay, how can I do this? So the basic idea is there are applications that you have to run. Yeah, so for example, if I'm having a company which is manufacturing something and I'm having 1000 employee. Okay, so in my company we have accountant, we have managers, we have HR department and all this. So to run this company and to make it digital, I have to build a software. Okay, so I have to go to the companies like SAP, which will build application for me. Okay, so the SAP will build application for as per my requirement. Okay, yeah, you can buy ready to use software as well, but basically if the company is big, they have their own software, right? They build their own software, and basically we call it ERP. It is like enterprise resource planning. Okay, now let me tell you, like, you got your application from SAP. Yeah, your software is ready, but how can you run this software? Okay, so if you want to run this software, you must have to purchase some of the infrastructure. Yeah, you must have hardware. For example, you have to buy servers. Okay, then if you are going to use new technologies, okay, you have to configure virtual machines. Okay, then you have to connect all the computers together, and to connect them you must have hardware. Yeah, like a networking device like routers, switches. And then like whenever the data will be produced by your application, to store this data you have to buy hard drive, or I can say that storage. Okay, so the first requirement is you have to provision hardware. Yeah, servers, networking devices, storage devices and all this. Okay, and we call this is all this as a infrastructure. Yeah, so you must have infrastructure, like you have to buy this. Okay, now you are having two options. The first is buy your own hardware. Yeah, go to the market, get quotation from your vendor and buy your own hardware. Another option is, now we have, is go to the cloud service provider. They have their own infrastructure. Okay, and you can rent this infrastructure. Yeah, you can rent servers from the cloud service provider, you can get storage from the cloud service provider. Okay, you will get like a virtual machine from the cloud service provider. Okay, so instead of buying hardware to run your application, actually you are renting it from the cloud service provider, and this is what we call infrastructure as a service. Okay, so this is like a first one, infrastructure as a service. Okay, now let me assume that like I got hardware. Yeah, I got hardware. So here I'm having one hardware. Let me assume that this is my hardware, right? Now, is it enough to have hardware to run application? No, it is not enough. Okay, you have to install operating system. Yeah, you have to install operating system first. Then you have to install some of the platform for to run the application. Yeah, so like if your application is in Java, you have to install Java, and then you can install application on it. Yeah, your application is in .NET, you have to install some .NET plugins, runtime environment, and then you can install it. Okay, so now if you are going to cloud service provider, they will ask you, okay, do you want only infrastructure? If you are saying yes, no problem, they will provide you infrastructure, and from that infrastructure, on that particular infrastructure, you can deploy your own platform. Like you can install operating system, then Java runtime environment, like any runtime environment, and then you can run. But nowadays the cloud service provider provide you all and all platform. Okay, so they will provide you infrastructure, and they have built-in platform on the top of the infrastructure, so you do not need to worry about hardware as well as platform. Yeah, so we can say that platform as a service is like a level 2. Yeah, so when you are going to get this platform as a service, you will get infrastructure for sure, and then you will get ready to use platform on the top of this infrastructure. Okay, and the third one is really very interesting, and here is like, see, I don't want to run application at my office. Yeah, I don't want to run application at my office. Okay, so the matter is, you do not need to buy hardware, you do not need to buy, like you do not need to use platform. Okay, you just need to use ready to use services. So now we have an application and we call it SaaS application. So like we have ready to use SaaS application, and we are getting it from the application provider. Yeah, and all we need to provide them a rent. So you can run this application from any browser, from any devices, and you do not need to deploy anything. Yeah, so it is like a zero provisioning to run application. Okay, so this is like an overview of all three services. Let me start with the infrastructure as a services first. Okay, so here we have 5 points. We are going to talk about 5 points about infrastructure as a services. Okay, first, contain a basic building block. And now what is the meaning of this basic building block? Yeah, so whenever you want to deploy your application, the basic, like you can start with the hardware. Yeah, first step is go and buy hardware. Okay, if you don't have hardware, you can't do anything. So in the infrastructure as a service, actually you are getting basic building block to deploy your application on premises, right? What it contain, like in the infrastructure as a service, what you will get virtualization, like a virtual environment. I will explain you virtualization in upcoming session, so don't worry about this as well. Okay, so we have one service and we call it Elastic Compute Cloud. Yeah, it is EC2. Now in EC2 you will get virtual machine instance. So when we will talk about virtual machine instance, yeah, it is like a virtual machine. This is like one type of virtual machine. I will explain you how the virtualization system works. Okay, right now you can say that virtualization is a part of infrastructure as a service. Yeah, then you will get servers, like servers is a part of infrastructure as a service. Storage, yeah, storage like a hardware for storage, it is a part of infrastructure as a service. And networking device like routing, switching, firewall, all these devices is a part of infrastructure as a service, right? And this is like an example. Okay, so Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, and Amazon Azure Virtual Machine is an example of infrastructure as a service. Yeah, our course is about AWS, so we will talk about AWS EC2, how to create virtual machine, how I can use infrastructure as a service. Okay, so don't worry about AWS EC2, it will be our upcoming topic. Yeah, advantage and disadvantage. So maybe you have a question like, okay, should I buy hardware or should I use this infrastructure as a service from cloud service provider and deploy resources on the cloud service provider? Yeah, and I need to pay them a rent, right? So based on this advantage and disadvantage, you can decide this, yeah, like which is best for your company. So let me start with the advantage. Okay, so the first advantage is the most flexible and dynamic model. Yeah, see, actually you are not going to buy anything. Yeah, you are just using infrastructure as a service. Okay, so you have cloud service provider and you are using a hardware of the cloud service provider, right? So you have flexibility. For example, if you don't want to use hardware now and you want to set your hardware, yeah, like you are going to shut down your company and you don't want to use your hardware, yeah, you can say, okay, delete. Yeah, you do not need to worry, like there is no long-term commitment. If you have hardware, yeah, you have like a lots of server and all this, now your company is shutting down, then you have to sell this. Okay, and if you're not going to sell this, it will be there in your company as a scrap. Okay, so here you will get like a flexibility, and even though if you want to increase the capacity, you can do it. If you want to decrease, you can do it as well. Yeah, cost effective due to pay as you go pricing. So whenever you are going to deploy or whenever you are going to get any services from the cloud service provider, the biggest advantage is everything in the cloud is pay as you go model. So if you use this resources, you have to pay them, and if you are not going to use these resources, you can delete them or you can stop them. Yeah, so one thing is, like if you are going to purchase hardware, there will be like a lots of investment for the like you have to buy hardware and it will be like lots of investment. But if you are going to use cloud, there is like a pay as you go model. Okay, so no capital investment, only operational expenditure that we can consider a rent that we have to give to the cloud service provider. Yeah, easy to use due to the automated deployment of hardware. Yeah, so when you go to the service, like when you going to use the service, you do not need to call cloud service provider or anything. They have automated service. You can deploy resources using a self-service provisioning model. Yeah, so it is like easy. You do not need to wait for anything. They have automated system and you can deploy resources. How it works, don't worry. Again, I am saying you, we'll talk about this when we are going to configure EC2 and all this. Yeah, so we have lots of practical in the row, so don't worry about how. Management tasks are virtualized, so employee have more free time for other tasks. Yeah, so if you have like your hardware, you have to manage them. Yeah, you have to manage electricity as well, because this hardware require electricity. But now you don't have any hardware, so all hardware will be managed by cloud service provider, the company which is providing us the infrastructure as a service. Okay, so yeah, our management task, like our employee will be free and we can utilize. Okay, so this is like a 4 points that is we consider as a advantage. Now we have this disadvantage as well. Okay, so the first disadvantage is data security issue due to the multi-tenant architecture. See, this is like a common issue with the cloud. Yeah, this is like a common issue with the cloud. There is a solution for that as well, but in the comparison of private, yeah, in the comparison of your own hardware, this is like always a minus point of the cloud. Okay, so if you have your own hardware, you are deploying your own operating system, you are deploying your own application. Yeah, there is no one is from the outside, so this is like advantage. But when you are going to use public cloud to access infrastructure as a service, the problem over here is cloud service provider will not deploy only your services. Yeah, they have multi-tenant model. Anyone with their account can able to deploy the resources. It has a shared infrastructure. Okay, so now if you are deploying your virtual machine, there is another person who is also deploying the virtual machine. So your machine and other person's machine are actually sharing same hardware. Okay, so yeah, it is a multi-tenant model, and that's why we have some security issue with the data security issue with the cloud. And what I'm saying is, keep this in mind, it is in comparison of our own hardware. Yeah, so if you will learn, like in upcoming session, you will talk about security, you will find out that yeah, there is no issue about that. They have proper isolated system, but you can say that in the comparison with our on-premises data center, it has a data security issue. Okay, vendor outage make customer unable to access their data for a while. Yeah, so if you have your own server, you can manage electricity or downtime with your own, but now your server is from cloud service provider. Yeah, and if something is happen and if server goes down, you are totally rely on the cloud service provider. Okay, so if they will give you a notice that okay, your server will be ready up, like it will take 1 hour to up your server again, you have to wait for 1 hour because you are totally depend on the cloud service provider. Yeah, they are giving us good service level agreement, yeah, for 99.99% uptime for sure, but still we are depend on others. Okay, that I can say. You need a team for training to learn how to manage new infrastructure. See this, like we have, if you have a own infrastructure, you have team and maybe you have experienced people, like they know that how to deploy application, how to run application on premises. Yeah, but now this experience won't work in the cloud, because when you are deploying application on premises, and when you are deploying application on cloud, yeah, it has a complete new picture. Okay, so if you have a person with 17 or 20 years experience, yeah, you have to upgrade the skill of that person. Okay, you have to give them training, so now he can able to deploy resources on the cloud. Okay, so you have to train your team like how they can use this infrastructure as a service. Yeah, they must have knowledge like how this cloud service provider works, and that's why you guys are taking a training of solution architect associate. Yeah, so this is what we consider as a disadvantage, because you must have to learn this new technology. Okay, now basically what I can say, that use case. Yeah, so what is the use case of this? Okay, if you are a small company or a startup that has no budget for creating your own infrastructure. Yeah, so like when you are going to open your company, you have some limited budget. Yeah, and now if you are spending budget for your product instead of spending budget on your product, if you are investmenting on that infrastructure like a computerization and all this, it will be really very costly. Yeah, so if you are startup, you have to invest on your product, right? This is like a primary thing, and for IT services you can get it on the rent basis. Okay, so for startup, this is like a good option to use infrastructure as a service from the cloud service provider. If you are rapidly growing company and your demand are unstable and changeable. Yeah, so for example, it is like a new e-commerce company and you are getting lots of traffic on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, so in this particular case, you cannot deploy new resources for Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so you can use this hybrid model. Okay, for Monday to Friday you are using your own infrastructure, and for Saturday Sunday you are moving your application to the cloud and you are using infrastructure as a service. So it will save your money and you do not need to buy or invest in your hardware. Yeah, and if you are a large company and you want to have effective control over infrastructure but pay only for the resources that you are actually using, again it is like a cloud based model. Okay, like a hybrid based model. You have your control on your limited hardware, but yeah, you can deploy some of the resources into the cloud as well. Okay, so this is what we call infrastructure as a service. Okay, 5 points that you have to understand, right? And now let me start with the platform as a service. So 5 points that you have to consider about platform as a service. Okay, the first is the underlying infrastructure, usually hardware and operating system. So when we are talking about platform, actually it is a hardware, and on the top of hardware we have this platform. Yeah, platform contain OS, operating system, we call it middleware. Yeah, for example, when we will talk about virtualization, we'll talk about middleware. Yeah, is like a hypervisor, it is we call middleware. Yeah, and we can say that runtime like Java runtime environment, .NET, all these are part of platform as a service. Okay, so it is like a software which is running on the top of hardware, right? Now example, okay, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, RDS, okay, relational database service, and Amazon S3 simple storage service is an example of platform as a service. Okay, don't worry about this, we are going to learn this, yeah, theoretical as well as practical. So we'll talk about this. Okay, so these three services from Amazon is an example of platform as a service, right? Again, let me talk about advantages and disadvantages. Yeah, so there are 6 advantages of platform as a service and there are 3 disadvantages. Okay, so main matter over here is just understand advantage and disadvantage. Based on this, you can decide which option will be best suitable for you. Okay, so if you don't want to deploy virtualization environment for your application, yeah, you don't want to buy hardware and you don't want to install any operating system, use platform as a service. Okay, so there are advantages. The first is PaaS software is a highly scalable, available and multi-tenant, and it's cloud based. Okay, so it is highly scalable means you can increase the capacity as per your requirement. Okay, you can increase the capacity whenever you require. Okay, and if you want to decrease this, you can decrease as well. Okay, second advantage is the development process is quick and simplified. See, you are not building anything. Yeah, everything will be built by cloud service provider. You just need to run some simple wizard and they have the self provisioning system and your infrastructure or your platform will be ready for you. How? Don't worry about this, we'll talk about this in the practical. Yeah, reduce expenses for creating, testing and launching applications. This is for example, let me give you an example. Like my one application is like I just built one application and I want to test it. Yeah, so I will buy hardware, then I will install operating system and everything, and then I realize that okay, this particular platform is not working well with my application. Yeah, so again I have to remove all this application and all this, like virtualization and all this, and then I have to install another platform. Yeah, but when you are going to use with the cloud service provider, okay, they have ready to use, deploy your resources on the platform of the cloud service provider. If you are finding difficulties, don't worry, remove and use another platform. Yeah, it will reduce your expenses for creating and launching applications. Automated company policy. So when you are going to implement platform as a service, okay, and when you are using cloud service provider, everything is automated. Yeah, so there is a less human interaction. You can do it by running scripting. Reduce amount of coding required. Yeah, your platform is based on the cloud service provider. It is ready to use, you just need to deploy them, so no coding required. Okay, and allow for easy migration. So for example, if you have on-premises application which is running on your own platform and you are realizing that okay, I want to migrate this application from on-premises to cloud service provider will give you option to migrate your application from on-premises to cloud as well. Okay, so yeah, they have migration flexibility. And here we have this disadvantage, and when I'm talking about disadvantage, keep this in mind, it's common. Yeah, it is common. The first is data security issue. Why? Because it is multi-tenant model. You are not only person or only company that you are using the platform of that cloud service provider. Yeah, so they have many clients, many customers, and all of them are deploying their application on the same platform, so there is a data security issue. Now it is common. Okay, second thing is compatibility of existing infrastructure. Not every element can be cloud enabled. Yeah, so sometimes it has happened like for some of the limitation you cannot deploy your particular part of the application in the cloud. Yeah, it must be on premises. So at that time, like if you have this type of requirement, it is like difficulty to deploy, okay, on the cloud or use platform as a service model. Okay, dependency on vendor speed, reliability and support. Okay, so now you don't have your own platform, you are using others platform. Yeah, so if you are using others platform, you have to depend on the others. Yeah, so if you want to deploy something and this platform is not compatible with your application, you have to call to the support. If the support can able to help you, then you can deploy this. And if you have your own infrastructure, you can change it. Yeah, you can change your platform setting as per your requirement. Okay, so maybe it will be difficult if your application is not having some issue, and then at that time you have to rely on the support from the platform service provider. Yeah, so here we have this use case, last one, and there are 3 points that you have to understand. Okay, multiple developers work on the one project. Yeah, so if you have a multiple developers, they are working on the one project, and if you are deploying resources on that single platform, other developer cannot able to access this. Yeah, or either you have to set up many things, but if you are going to deploy resources into the platform as a service model, okay, anyone can able to access this, because cloud service are available anywhere, anytime, and any devices. Yeah, other vendors must be included, and you want to create your own customized app, right? So this is like a use case. You have your application, and you do not need to buy hardware, you do not need to buy any platform to run your application. It is your customized application. As I started this video with the customized application, you can use this platform as a service and deploy your application into that particular platform. Yeah, so this is like a second part, we call it platform as a service, and this is like our third part, and we call it software as a service. Yeah, and once it will be finished, we'll end our video. 5 points that you have to understand. Okay, first is complete product that is run and managed by the service provider. See this, like I don't want to develop my own application, I don't want to buy any hardware, I don't want to use any platform. See, even if you don't have any hardware, there is no need for the platform as well. Okay, so the matter is you can go and buy ready to use software. Yeah, and these softwares are basically cloud based, so you just need a browser to run your application, that's all. Yeah, so data and applications, like you can buy data application, or like you can use data as well. Okay, now example is Google app and Office 365. Yeah, for example, we all are using this MS Office. Yeah, so the first model was first model of MS Office is like you must have computer, you must have Windows operating system, and in which you can able to use MS Office. But nowadays we have Office 365. It is total online model. Yeah, you do not need to you do not need anything. If you have a browser, yeah, if you have Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge as a browser, you can run you can able to use MS Office or Office 365. You can write document using a Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. All the MS Office products are available and you can use them using browser. Yeah, so no need to, you do not need, and you do not require any hardware to run this application. Yeah, so Office 365 is and Google app is a good example of software as a service. Now advantage and disadvantage. Okay, 8 advantage against 3 disadvantage. Okay, so the first is no hardware cost. You don't have any hardware. Yeah, no initial setup. If you want to run Office 365, you just need to subscribe to the Office 365 and you can ready to use. Yeah, no need to set up, no need to install any software on your computer. Automated upgrade. Yeah, you are using application from the browser. Okay, so the responsibility of upgradation will be on the SaaS application provider. Yeah, for example, if you are using Office like Microsoft Office in your computer, and you are using old Office. Yeah, now if you want to upgrade it, you have to go to the you have to upgrade with yourself. Yeah, you have to download new source of Office and then you have to install it. But when you are using cloud based, update will be automatic. Okay, cross device compatibility. You must have browser to run the software, nothing else. Okay, so you can able to access your software, you can able to access Office 365 from your mobile, from your tablet, from your iPad, from your from any application. You can from any device you can able to access this. Yeah, so simply use three three A over here. Yeah, triple A. Anytime, anywhere, any devices. Okay, so SaaS provide these triple A services. Yeah, you can run your application anytime. You can run your application from any devices. Yeah, and you can run from anywhere. Okay, accessible from any location. Yeah, it is like a same anywhere, pay as you go model. Yeah, you do not need to buy software. Yeah, you need to subscribe software. So you have to pay like for MS Office, like Office 365, you have to pay 165 rupees per month and you can use entire Office suite. Yeah, but it is like subscription model. So if you are not paying the 150 for 165 something rupees, Indian rupees per month, yeah, it will stop your subscription. Okay, so scalability. Yeah, if your application is not hosted in your computer, you do not need to worry about scalability. You must have like a browser and you can run this application from any devices, even if you have low level computer or hardware. Yeah, and easy customization. So these companies give you a customization option. If you want to customize your application with your own, you can do this. Okay, now disadvantage. So first is like loss of control. You don't have your hardware, like you don't have your application installed in your system. So everything will be controlled by the SaaS provider. Okay, limited range of solutions. Right now, many like less SaaS solutions available because this is in the development field. Yeah, the people are developing this. So yeah, we have like limited solutions and connectivity is must. Now you can access SaaS services only if you have internet. So if you have internet problem, this service is not for you. Yeah, if you are like, if your office is in a remote area, your internet is not stable, don't use this. Okay, in this situation you have to install application on your computer and this is like advantage for you, right? So connectivity, internet connectivity is must in the case of SaaS, right? And now use case. Okay, if your company need to launch and ready-made software quickly, yeah, so you are not developing your software, you do not want to buy any hardware, yeah, you do not need to buy any platform, this particular SaaS provider will give you ready to use software that you can run from the browser. So quick, you can start it as soon as possible. Yeah, for short-term project that required collaboration, now this is required. For example, I got one project and for this project I want to use application for 6 months. Yeah, so if I'm going to deploy these resources on premises, I'm going to buy hardware and everything. Yeah, this will be like not easy to manage and I have to invest lots of money. So in this particular case, you can use SaaS services from the service provider. It is a subscription based model. I already explained you. Yeah, you have to pay them monthly rent, give them and use this application for temporary period. Yeah, if you use application for temporary basic, it is like the same thing. And for application that need both web and mobile access. Okay, so anytime, anywhere, any devices. Okay, if you are going to use SaaS based application, this is like a biggest advantage and we can say that use case. Okay, so these are the services that you must know: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. I hope your concept will be clear. If it is not clear, no need to worry, just comment below and I will give you answer very quickly. Okay, and see you in the next video.